Welcome to part two. We're joined by Kent, all the way from Ireland. How are you doing, Kent? You all right, mate? I can't hear you, Kent.
All right, Russell.
All right, Kent, how are you doing?
Dead on. All good.
Have you not been showing your face so far in the first two videos now?
To be honest with you, I'm not great with tech, so this is slightly changed. So one of the things says join. So when you join, it used to go on with sound right away. And actually, I'm sick of looking at Tony Bellew lying on his backside as my my cover photograph. So I'm gonna have to actually change that. So
well, he's been iced a few times, hasn't he, Bellew? He got done by Stevenson, didn't he?
Oh, he turned his back in that one. Do you remember that? He turned his back in that. He was like running for his life, and in that photograph, that was. I actually think I've got that. I'll have to send you that.
I felt sorry for him in that fight though, because he wasn't really a light heavyweight, was he?
He should never have been making light heavyweight, even in the first Cleverly fight. There's no way that he should have made light heavyweight all them years boiling down the light heavyweight.
In my opinion,
silly.
Kent, right, he were an heavyweight ABA champion. He won it 3 times, didn't he? 85, 86, and or 84, 85, and 87 or something. He lost to Danny Price one year, didn't he? Finally, I remember that. But he can't have been very confident about his punching power at heavyweight, Bellew, to boil his son down from heavyweight to light heavy. He can't have it, can he?
It's probably one of them myths that you used to hear when a fighter turned pro, and they would have been told, right now when you turn pro you go down 2 weights. You're probably listening to really bad advice. You're training longer, you're training in warmer conditions, you're sparring more.
Warmer conditions.
It's that type of, because an amateur then was what, 3-4 rounds. You're going to have to train longer. Championship level is 12 rounds, so you're obviously going to drop a lot of weight, and that was probably the advice that he had been getting at the time. But I think you're right. I think he should have stayed at heavyweight. There would have been far more money around at that time and opportunities fighting at heavyweight than there would have been fighting at boiling yourself down and fighting at light heavyweight.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting if Tony does come back, won't it? Because he'll get loads of stick, won't he? Say he's greedy and all that and blah, blah, blah.
Who says he wants to come back? And he's, who's to say that he actually wants to come back? I
don't think he does. I just think it's just people latching on and wanting a bit of PR. It's like something every day. So, your Bellews, Eddie Hearns and all these, Tyson, John Fury on. They put something out every single day, and it always turns out to be not true, doesn't it? Every single day. I mean, if you go back, you jot it all down for 1 month, how much of what these 9 or 10, 11 characters say is actually true?
I remember Carl saying a couple of months back there when Kiko Martinez beat Jordan Gill. He absolutely drilled Jordan Gill for the European, and he felt great. He's like, Kiko Martinez, I beat him twice. He's in his 30s, and he says, Flip, I could actually maybe come back. I'm rested. And he said he went out the next day for a run, and he says, Flip, my back's sore, my knees sore. I could actually think of nothing worse right now in my life to actually go through a training camp and put myself through all that again. So no. So, it's all right being retired and doing a bit of training, but when you're getting a hit again, your punch resistance is completely different. Your metabolism's different. Your body's changed. You're older. It's a lot harder to train. And more importantly, it's actually a lot harder to recover. But the thing is, what's to say that he doesn't even want to come back? What's to say it's not something that the Zone has turned around and said that, you know what other fights have we got in the UK that anyone's going to be interested in? Nobody's interested in Joshua anymore because we're in, arena fights. We're not in stadium fights anymore. That's gone.
Ken, do you think
So
that Anthony Joshua's not being paid what he used to get paid, and that's why they're out in Saudi, because his money's gone down because there's no belts?
I don't think it's anything to do with belts. I think it's just that he's been found out.
Yeah.
He's been found out. Let's be honest.
As what? As being what, a fraud?
Well, it go back to the interview that Eubank said a lot of weeks back in one of those channels, that basically he was rushed and he was manufactured as a world champion. And it doesn't look wrong, does it? Let's be honest. If there was any other belt holders out there at the time, apart from Charles Martin, would they have been so keen to put Joshua in with any other champions? Let's just say that Fury hadn't retired that time and still had belts, and someone like Luis Ortiz had belts, and Wilder had belts at that time.
Yeah.
Would they have been so keen to put him in so early for a world title fight?
No.
No?
I don't think so, do.
Definitely not. It was that, Charles Martin.
They did the best to stay away from Ortiz, didn't they? Cuban, Southpaw Olympic, two-time Olympian. Joshua did his best. My argument with that, and I've bored everybody to death with it. At the time, they put Dave Allen in with Ortiz and Joshua in with Molina. It should have been Dave Allen in with Molina and Joshua in with Ortiz. Am I right?
That would have made sense. Absolutely.
And what did they do? They fed a kid who had had probably 10 fights or something to Ortiz, 10, 11 fights to Luis Ortiz, which were out of order because he went prepared for that. He's got him smashed up. Dave Allen's tough. Well, like that, from the side, it was that bad, they couldn't stitch it. He went all the way down the side. It was like a gap like that. They had to put this like Vaseline, like hard gel stuff in. And it went all the way down, and at front, it was like that on the side, and at front, there that here. So I hope Eddie Hills, I hope you're happy with yourself what you did there. Right? You'll be right happy with yourself. And then messing him about with your promises. Good old Eddie. Right? That's what Eddie does. He crushes kids' dreams, doesn't he? Wow, that's it, Ken.
You're right. And at that time, Charles Martin, as an IBF world champion, was the jackpot. That was like winning the lottery for Matchroom. That was like, whoa. They would have threw any amount of money at him because they were going to make that back tenfold. The sooner they got Joshua, a belt on Joshua, which meant the sooner they were having stadium fights.
You remember when he knocked him out, Martin, and they said, we're entering into a new era? They tried to make it like Tyson Burbick, 1986, didn't they? Do you remember
I remember Eddie Hearn actually said, this is the second coming here. This heavyweight, he's the most destructive heavyweight since Mike Tyson, and no one in his career is going to beat him. Like, that's the type of language we were hearing. Nobody in his career will beat AJ.
Yeah, but then the stuff started coming out, didn't it, about Dubois, Akoli, putting him down on one knee, and the other one who actually flattened him, Pricey, Big Truck, David Price, flattened him that bad, they gave him smelling salts, and McCracken sat him on an exercise bike after they got flattened.
There was the whole talk of Joey Dawako as well, the journeyman.
Who's that American?
American guy. There was talk of him.
Didn't know about that, Kent. That's pretty hardcore from you, Kent.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk out there that Joey Dawako actually put him in the orbit in sparring. Yeah. So he did, and he apparently it was before the Ruiz fight. That was the person that was meant to have. They say Joshua was concussed in that fight. Well, there was a lot of strong talk that Joey Dawako actually knocked him in the orbit as well, and there's been others that have probably handled him in sparring. So at that time, they were creating this monster. They had thought that, let's be honest, Russell, Did you ever think that Tyson Fury was going to come back and win a version of the heavyweight title at that time?
No, so it's too big.
Yeah, I seen a video of him in IFL, and I'm like, whoa, there's no chance he's ever going to come back. So they built AJ's career around the fact that Tyson Fury had retired. He was well down the road. They completely wrote that off. There was nobody going to be there that was going to challenge for the belts. The WBC was over the other side of the world. They could build something in the UK with the WBA, the WBO, the IBF. Let Wilder stay over there. That's not going to happen because he's PBC. Then Tyson Fury comes back and wins a version of the heavyweight title. And little behold, that there was a guy there in cruiserweight, in the cruiserweight division, was just waiting his time, and he won the world the cruiserweight, unified the cruiserweight division. And what can you do after that at cruiserweight? There's no money in it as it is. Straight to heavyweight. They didn't see any of that happening. And where is there now for AJ to go, Russell? Where?
There isn't anywhere, is there? Well, he's got to fight somebody with a heartbeat. He can't fight somebody that who wants to see him against Dylan. Right? That could be an hard fight for him as well. But you can't go fighting guys that have been slotted into the top 15 now and hope it passes. You can't be learning on job still. You're a former two-time world champion. World Championship silver, Olympic gold, two-time unified champion of the world. And you're needing warm-up fights. You've just lost against the best fighter in the world in a split decision. Why would you possibly need a warm-up fight losing a split to Usyk? Because he knows it weren't a split, was it? He won 2-3 rounds. He'd be lucky to get 6 rounds out both them fights. Do you agree?
Absolutely.
So if he's got 6 rounds out 2 of them fights against Usyk, but they give it as a split, he don't need any building up. But he knows it weren't a split, and that's why they've got to go back to the drawing board. He knows he's not in that class, Fury's class. Do you know what I mean? He knows his chin can't stand up to Wilder, so they're going to tell us all this nonsense, and then they're going to put us in with a bin man. Put him in with a bin man. They're going to big it all up, and then we're going to go. It's a bit like a bloke coming down here to buy a convertible from Ash next door. So he comes down with his bird. I'm buying my bird a convertible. Then leave him with a 58 plate Fiesta. Do you see where I'm coming from? It's just lip service, Kent. Utter lip service. Anthony Joshua's scared to death, right, of his own shadowboxing. He probably shadowboxes and is frightened to death. Wyatt can't hold a shot when you're getting caught by a looping uppercut, looping. If you're getting caught like that, you've got a problem you can't get out of the way, can you? Well, Fury's not as quick as he used to, but he's a bag of tricks, isn't he? Did you see he never threw that uppercut all fight, and then he just went like that, didn't he? First time he threw it, he got it. That's a good fighter that can do that, isn't it? But White's limited, isn't he?
Yeah, and as you say there, that's the shot that they've been working on in the gym. You know, the more you throw that shot, the more they're going to be waiting and defending it. And that was the shot that was going to knock him out. Many times now has Dillian Whyte been knocked out by an uppercut right through the middle. That's what Povetkin knocked him out. That shot is probably the most least effective shot in boxing, and probably one of the most easiest to defend. He was knocked out by it. And the same against Tyson Fury. He didn't win a second of any round in that fight. No. So, to be honest with you...
What did he hit with 3 punches or 2? Was it 3 or 2 or was it 1?
No, it was one shot.
One shot like Audley Harrison, wasn't it? Yeah, he got hit him with 1 punch in how many rounds? 6 or 7 or something.
And if you look back on it, see the way Fury threw the jab. It was a blinding jab. So he fenced the jab, blinded him. He was looking at that fence job, and then bang, he just hit him that uppercut. For me, like, that's genius IQ. That is absolutely genius ring IQ. And as you say, he knew he only needed to throw that
He
once.
could have took him out anytime he wanted, right? He could have took him out in round 3, in my opinion. He pulled his shot. Now, I think Tyson did that just to get crowd a show. But once White weren't coming with anything, there were boos, wasn't there? And I think he just closed show then, Tyson. He could have took him out anytime he wanted.
He could have, and let's go back. And Dillian actually came out as a southpaw the first few rounds in that fight. You remember that as a southpaw? Like Dillian's balance as it is terrible, and he looked like he had stiff wooden legs trying to throw shots as a southpaw. Tyson could have ran right through him in the first round, but as I say, there's X amount of people there. They were trying to sell that as pay-per-view. Tyson sold it on his own, to his own credit. John as well. John kept the hype, kept the nonsense up for a week. He sold it. Dillian didn't say a word. And, he really had to bring him around. You look at Chisora fight, he could have hit him with those type of shots. He wasn't hitting him with that same spite as he did Dillian Whyte. But to be honest with you, I don't want to, I remember as a kid watching Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield fighting for Undisputed. That was the 3-belt Undisputed. They didn't count the WBO then. That was before the 4-belt era. That was a pay-per-view fight. That was exciting. That is a fight that you would have stayed up and you would have paid £20 for. Now, how could you watch Dillian Whyte against AJ in a pay-per-view fight? Pay-per-view for what? How is that justified as a pay-per-view fight? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's totally ridiculous. But okay, so we've looked at the heavyweight division. Do you see anybody calling Jared Anderson out, age 23, 14 fights, 14 on planet Mars?
Not a chance. He's a monster. He's an absolute monster. He's a great ring IQ. He reminds me of you watch his ring IQ and you watch how he puts his shots together. Like when he pivots and he steps to the side, he punches really, really hard. That is, for me, is a sign of an exceptional fighter. Like watch him punching off an angle. He is lethal. He's heavy-handed with both hands. His career at the minute, like he said in an interview the other week, that he wanted to be retired from boxing by 26 because he was bored with it. There's no way that he's actually going to fight for a title in the next 2 years.
No
way. WBC.
Who's he with, Arum?
Yes, he is. And he's
doing again, isn't he, Bob Arum?
His last few fights have been actually on Sky. Sky have been showing some of his fights. They've got that link up with Top Rank and with Top Rank, and they show their fights. But he was actually meant to fight Zan Kazabuski, who's actually got a promotional link with Frank Warren. He's a European fighter, really, really good fighter. But he's actually pulled out, and Charles Martin now has stepped in as a replacement for Karabuski. So that's going to be a really interesting fight to see where Jared Anderson is now in his career. I think he just puts him in the Jupiter, to be honest with you. I think he runs right through him. Yeah. He's a fantastic fighter, lethal. And he's a big heavyweight as well. He's a really big heavyweight. And Tyson Fury had him over a couple of years ago for sparring as chief sparring partner. And they would have knew then that they were dealing with a really serious talent in Jared Anderson.
Yeah, it's a shame that we don't see any of our lads calling him out. Is he Jabbar's age as well? He might even be younger than Jabbar.
I think he's younger. And you look at a lot of months back. So you look at Zhang. Zhang absolutely destroyed Joe Joyce. Do you agree? Destroyed him?
Yeah, I took him apart, mate. Didn't he? Took him apart.
You go back and you look at his fight with Jeremy Forrest, Zhang and Jeremy Forrest. I thought Forrest was absolutely robbed in that fight. Forrest beat him.
Did you, Ken?
Yeah, he beat him. Go back and check it out. It's on YouTube.
Were you raging, Ken? Were you raging on the decision?
Yeah, I was. Go back and watch the decision, right? And watch Zhang's performance. Jeremy Forrest,
Ergovic got lucky.
yeah. Now the Forrest Zhang fight, you watch what Jared Anderson done to Jeremy Forrest a couple of fights ago. He absolutely destroyed him. So
What about
that's
Ergovic and Anderson?
there's no way that Kalla is gonna let Hergovic in.
How can Calla even have anything to do with Ergovic when he's got a no board license? He's no to do with him. He's a misfit promoter, isn't he?
He's a
So
misfit promoter.
How can he be associated with Ergovic when, if you're registered with board, might not have a board license no more, right? He might let his brother do it. They find ways around it, don't they?
But that's the level. You just check that fight out and you will see the level.
I've seen it. I saw Zhang beat him up, bashed him up, and got robbed.
Yeah. He absolutely destroyed him. But what would Jared Anderson do to Zhang? You know, I think he just absolutely destroys him, to be honest with you. But as I say, the way the heavyweight division is at the minute, there's no way soon that he's gonna fight for a heavyweight title unless I see this happening. If Tyson Fury leaves Top Rank and Frank Warren, you'll see Bob Arum putting more pressure on the WBC for Anderson to get a world title fight. Now that if he does leave, I'm not saying he has, but if he leaves Top Rank and he leaves Frank Warren, you'll see a lot more pressure on the WBC because they don't have the strength of Top Rank and Frank Warren. So he's sitting waiting in the background. But personally, unless something dramatic happens and he does maybe possibly does go out on his own or goes to the zone or goes to somewhere else, that'll not happen for a couple of years. There's no way of it.
No
way of it.
Where do you see Crusher at the moment? Do you see Crusher fighting in Saudi against Eubank?
Well, they're doing everything they can to get it. You know, that this is a guy that failed 2 steroid tests. You know, what about Eddie turned around and said something the other day. They compared. They're talking about Big Baby Miller. You know, Big Baby Miller failed multiple tests, but he's still a drug cheat. You know, that they can't even turn around and say now it's adverse findings. What does adverse findings actually mean, Russell?
Well, adverse finding, in my opinion, it comes out as it's like some minute, smaller than a grain of sugar finding that's so minute. It's a fluke how it's there, the word adverse. But what it means is you failed a drug test, kid. That's what it means. When you have an MDT in prison, it's called a mandatory drug test. Don't you know? They say, right, Hartley, MDT, you go, yeah, okay, you go down, you pee in a thing, split it into 2 and all that. And if you get found guilty, they say you've had an adverse finding, usually for me in there, it used to be cannabinoids, that's what they call it for cannabis. So I say, oh, okay, but they call that adverse then, it just means you failed. But it's a posher word, isn't it?
So why did they not use that type of language for Big Baby Miller?
Well, what they did with that, Eddie Hearn, because it balls his night up, because they had an easy win for Joshua, they put him in with a wheeze and they got touched up, didn't it? But because they went in with a wheeze and lost, Eddie Hearn set about Wilder for the rest of his life, and then he went and failed again, didn't he? So it's his own fault. But now they're looking to offer him it, aren't they? Wilder. Jarrell Miller, not Wild, Jarrell Miller.
Yeah, to be honest with you, to be honest with you, I'm going back to something else. I remember the UFC a lot of years ago had problems with John Jones, and they found it's called a picogram, a picogram, and they actually up sticks the event and moved it to another commission. I think it was like 48 hours. They changed the arena, changed the commission that actually would show that actually would sanction the fight. So that's following off that. They're trying to go over to Saudi now. At the time, you go back and you look at Joshua or Big Meech, as he's called in this channel. I don't want to get corrected again. Big Meech versus Reyes 2. That was in Saudi or Dubai or wherever. That was all British Boxing Board of Control. They actually organised and officiated that whole card. Now, if they're going to go, if this fight does happen, who's actually going to be the license? Who's going to be the judges? Who's going to be the referee? Whose auspices is it going to be under? Because I was under that impression that if it was British fighters over there, it was the British Boxing Board of Control.
British, well, you'd have thought that they'd take the licenses off them, wouldn't they? Because Conor Benn is currently under investigation for 4 findings, isn't he, in 2 different drug tests, 2 A's and 2 B's, an A and a B and A and a B. So he's got 4 legal issues with drugs going on. So why would his promoter possibly be putting him in the mix for dates and that when he's having that dealt with? Does the promoter know something that we don't?
I think it's absolutely disgraceful that a boxing promoter, that someone has actually failed 2 drugs tests, is being spoke about, is going into a fight before a hearing. I find that an absolute disgrace. I think it makes boxing look like trash. Makes boxing look like Trailer Park trash. It does.
Do you think we're getting to a stage now where people are going to sit in there with the teams? Eddie Hills is going to sit in there with Conor Benn, Mo Crusher, his dad, and Tony Sims, Charlie Sims, and whoever else they got around them. And do you think they're probably all just going to say, look, we'll just front it out. It'll be somebody else's fish and chip wrapper in another month. We're just going to have to battle it out, put the tin hats on, and just grind it out. Push Eddie out. We'll push all the matchroom gimps out, the bot accounts, the lot. And I think they're just going to ride it out and take it on chin. They're going to have a touch. I think probably they might fight this year, but my argument is this way. They've got 2 drug tests, not 1, 2. Liam Cameron had 1 for cocaine, 4 years. Conor Benn's got 2. And he's going all the way. So surely he can't be fighting this year. Or he can't be fighting, can he? Can't be. It's madness.
How could it even be backdated a year?
But he can't. It can only go back to March 15th according to their rules. Their rules.
It's just disgraceful. It just makes a joke out of testing protocols on boxing.
Well, if they fight September 23rd, right, this is what I think is going to happen. He'll have been 17 months. No, hang on, 17 months since he last fought. And what I think they'll do, I think they'll give him a 6-month ban from March 15th to September 15th. He fights September 23rd. I think they'll give him an 18-month ban, but I think they'll suspend 12 months. And then people will say, well, they were out 17 months anyway. So just let him fight. And it'll blow away. By October, he'll have been fought. He'll have had his fight. It's a week after the fight. They'll be looking for the next one. And it'll be, like I just said earlier, fish and chip wrappers, won't it?
I agree with everything you say. I agree. But I just think look at all the boxers along the years have suffered life-changing injuries in the boxing ring with taking away. I'm not talking about with fighters that the field tests or what. Take that away from it. Boxing is probably one of the most dangerous combat sports in the world. You look at fighters there that have had life-changing injuries like Michael Watson, Jared McLennan. There's a lot more. The list goes. They're only high profile. The list goes on. And now it's all right for a fighter to fail 2 drug tests 2 different tests and 2 B samples, and it's all right. Come on, just because they generate money and make money off them, it seems to be okay. I think it's an absolute disgrace. It's a travesty in boxing, and it makes boxing look like an absolute joke. So it does. I find it a real slap in the face to anyone that's been in a boxing ring that's had life-changing injuries. I find it absolutely disgraceful. So I do. I find it, how can Gareth A. Davis come out and, criticize it, but he's going to be getting paid to sit ringside and commentate on it? That for me is a massive hypocrisy on its own. I just find it a disgrace, Russell. I find it really bad. The more I hear about it, my blood actually boils. I find it in real bad taste. I find it's absolutely disgraceful, Russell. And Matchroom have put a lot of money into Conor Benn, and they want that back. If that was a young fighter coming through at 6 and 8 round level, he would have been under the bus. They wouldn't have cared less.
That's what it is, isn't it, Ken? Bullshit. Yeah, it's in bad form. But what can they do? I mean, Crusher's obviously money motivated. They just want the dough, don't they now? But I'm not buying into it all. One test I was like, has he been unlucky? Come on, not 2. He's surrounded by all this great good team in it. My team this, my team that. Well, your team's had your parks up 17 months, right? You've not won any of the main belts, area, English, British, Commonwealth, right? You won no domestic belt, no European. You've won nothing. You parked up 17 months and you're walking around giving it the big Charlie Big Spuds. Am I right? So what has this team done for him? 17 months out of action, hasn't even got a date, knee deep in legal issues, costing him thousands. That's your team, Connor. Your team. You employ them. You're only as good as the shit around you. That's
Russell,
why if you're not happy, you get rid of him, don't you? He should get rid of him if he's not enjoying it with him, because he's not done anything for 17 months. Like, if I'm working with somebody 17 months, and it won't take that long for me for a penny to drop, and you're not doing anything for 17 months, your team can't get you a penny in 17 months, but they're costing you. It's time to get rid of them, isn't it? I think, it's not rocket science, is it? If you don't enjoy it and you're not earning what you should get, bail. So he's not earning, is he? Because he hasn't got a date. His team have put him in this situation. Somebody's giving him the stuff and he's covering for him, isn't it? He's had the stuff, and it's in his system. If he hasn't had the stuff, right, what everybody's missing out on, if Conor Benn's not took that stuff, well, he's been spiked, hasn't he, by somebody around him. So, or it's a mistake. Either way, his team are either trying to stitch him up by spiking him, or it's going to his foot and he's incompetent. So why hadn't he sacked them? If he were not guilty, they'd be down the road. Because, if it were me, let me tell you this. Anybody comes in here, right? If Kevin came in, he said, "Oh, have you took this or took that?" And I'll go, "No." And he'll go, "I bet you have." And I'll go, "It's fucking Cameron there. Go, look, I ain't took it." And he'll go, "Cameron ain't picked up on that. I think you've took it." And if I hadn't took it, me and him are throwing down on the floor here, mate. We're on the floor, rolling about. If I hadn't took it. If I had took it, I'll say, "Yeah, I took it." But if I am, and I'm accused, these here are gone. I won't have nobody around me. And his team should be gone. They should be sacked. If nobody's pulling the way, right, if you can't get on with your team around you, Ken, you can't get on with his team, sorry, his team have done something, Anthony, and is covering for him. Do we agree on that, yeah?
Russell, he's a professional athlete.
Exactly. So someone's got in his system, and if it's not his fault, it's his team's fault, isn't it?
To be honest with you, Russell, I agree with some of that. Some of that I disagree with.
What do you disagree with?
Because Conor Benn, I don't think Conor Benn is the brightest. To be honest with you, I think seriously, I listen to him a lot talking. I don't actually think he's the brightest.
Who's giving him the gear? Somebody's giving him the gear, aren't they? Who's giving it? If they haven't given it, it's in his system and he hasn't took it. Well, somebody's got to be sacked, haven't they? If I'm driving down the road and I've got jet fuel in my car, please, what's it called? Not that jet.
Red diesel.
No, not red diesel. There's some stuff you can put in your car, isn't there, that's illegal. Is it nitrous? Something like that. If I have some of that on my car and start nitrousing up or whatever on motoring, I get caught, I'm going to say, it was on when I got it. I just thought it's just like a sport button that you press. No, it's nitrous. You're coming with us, you know. I'd be fuming when I say, who's put this in car? Or who's put this in his drink or in his food? Somebody's done it because he don't cook his own food, he said. He has a chef, doesn't he? Somebody's giving it.
To be honest with you, Russell, you know, when that all broke, when that all happened, you turn around and say, right, okay, this is what's going to happen. What can happen here? And you're told this could happen, and this can happen. And it's up to you as the fighter to turn around and say, right, you know what? I want to get fighting. We need to go and get this sorted out. Yeah, yes, he has had terrible advice. Yes, he has. I agree with you on that. Yes, there's something in his system he's taken. But ultimately, as the fighter, he has to have a say in that. So I think he is the blame. You know, we can't throw everybody onto the bus there, and for Conor Benn that made to be for him to say, it's everybody else's fault other than his. It's his fault. Strict liability. It's in his system. It's there. He has had terrible advice.
To be fair to him, he hasn't slagged his team off, which is good. But really, if he hadn't took it, somebody's given it. Has he been spiked, as I've said? You want to go to part 3, Ken?
Yep.